We're live.
We're live.
Can you guys see us? Oh. Oh.
What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for being here. We're Atticus.
We are Atticus, but we think it's about time to finally make the big reveal. We're gonna take our masks off.
All right, ready?
1, 2, 3. Whoa. Still got one mask going on.
Guys, can you hear us? Okay, you are live with Atticus, and this is Spencer, who's going to be moderating and asking me questions. It's nice to be here. We wanted to set up this live tour because we realized that not everybody can go on book tour and meet us on one of my stops. And so we wanted to give this opportunity for people to kind of tune in, ask me questions, and if they want, get a signed book. So you can ask questions. We have a bunch of questions that people have already sent in. I'm going to be signing books this whole time. Make sure we get through all of them for people who have already bought signed books.
And the signed books are going to be available at premiercollectibles.com/Atticus. There are links below and above us to be able to get the signed copies that Atticus is going to be signing here today.
If you want. First of all, guys, thank you so much if you've already bought my new book, Dark Between the Stars, or The Dark Between Stars. I so appreciate it. I put a lot of heart into this book, and it's just a beautiful thing. The response that I'm getting and people who are enjoying it, I can't thank you enough. I really do appreciate it.
So let's first dive in with talking a little bit more about the book. We can dive in a little bit deeper. What inspired you to write this second book following up Love Her Wild?
Good question, Spencer. Why did I write this book? This book, first of all, the title, The Dark Between Stars, I get asked a lot, like why I named it that. And for me, it was this idea that, everyone talks about how beautiful the stars are, but they don't often talk about how beautiful the dark is between them. And I think that it's that darkness that sometimes makes the stars more beautiful. Then that idea can get translated into life. It's sometimes not the things you think are the most beautiful that are actually the most beautiful, and it's sometimes those other things that make life more beautiful. And so for me, that idea I loved, and I loved thinking of that darkness between the stars. And I think also it's that idea of like we all go through our dark and light times, and we can't have the light without the dark as well. And so that's why I called it Dark Between Stars. And it takes off kind of where Love Her Wild, if any of you guys read Love Her Wild, it kind of takes off where Love Her Wild left off, and goes in from there into a new direction. It writes a lot about Paris, a lot about drinking and drinking under the stars, and just being wild youth, for sure. So all those things.
Awesome, right on. Well, it's definitely, an idea and a concept that I can relate to, and hopefully like a lot of you guys can too, so it's very cool. So I guess let's dive into a couple of these fan questions. We've got a lot of them here. First one here is from Sarah in Leeds, Alabama. Hi, Sarah. If you are watching, thank you for your question. Sarah's question is, I noticed that the book is dedicated to your mother. Is she also a writer?
Ooh, good question. Yes, I did dedicate this book to my mother. And, what's interesting is that I believe my mother is a writer, but she never wrote growing up. And she never wrote, actually, until I started writing. And after I started writing, she started writing, and now she writes poetry. And almost every day she sends me a poem, and she says, what do you think? And I really treasure those poems. But really why I said that in the beginning of this book, I think my real dedication was for my mother, for hiding poetry where I'd find it, is that I think mothers have a hard time, introducing their children, and especially their boys sometimes, to anything like poetry. And my mother did a good job of leaving these books, these inspiring books, by inspiring authors like Bukowski and Frost and Hemingway. She left them all around my room and my house, and she didn't force it on me, but she just left them everywhere. And she had these posters on the walls of these incredible Irish poets. And I found them myself, and she hid them. So, and sometimes that's what I think young people need. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Awesome. All right, this next one we've got is from Carl Johnson in Chicago, Illinois. Carl, if you are watching, hello. And he says, why do you wear a mask?
Why do I wear a mask? Why do I wear 2 masks? That's a good question, and usually one of the first ones I get is, why do I wear a mask? I wear a mask to remind myself to write what I feel and not what I think I should feel. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to ever write to try to be somebody else or try to pretend to be someone. I want to write and remind myself to write what I think is true and honest. And that's sometimes hard as a writer, and certainly on a platform like Instagram or anything like that, or any social media, it's really hard because you have that instant feedback. And right off the bat, I wanted to write, just remind myself to write what I feel. And later on, I really truly believe that our generation has this kind of obsession with fame and recognition, and I think it can be a dangerous thing. It can be a very dangerous thing to pursue fame, and certainly for the wrong reasons. And I think there's a difference between wanting to get your art out there and wanting to be famous just for the act, for the reason of being famous. And I think you've got to be really true to yourself about what you want and what's important. Otherwise, it can be very, very dangerous. And I think we've all seen the effects of real fame on people in this day and age. It really can take people's lives away. So that's another reason.
All right.
But thank you.
Nice, Carl. Good
Carl.
Question. Very good question. All
Thanks,
right,
Carl.
This next one we've got is from Shannon in Meadow Vista, California. Shannon says, do you believe in reincarnation or living multiple lives? Your writing feels like you've lived and experienced 1,000 lifetimes.
Wow.
That's a good question, Shannon.
Shannon.
Very in-depth.
She's a little poet. Are you a poet, Shannon? Yeah, that's a beautiful question. Yeah, I believe in a lot of spirituality, and reincarnation, as a part of that. I really believe in this idea that we're all connected, and that we are reborn as matter, and that kind of idea. So certainly, but thank you. That's a very nice thing to say, and I really appreciate that.
That's a really cool question. All right, this next one is from Tom Winter in Miami, Florida. Says, how do you get inspired to write? What is your process?
Thanks, Tom. How do I get inspired to write? It's hard to get inspired to write, and I think if any of you guys are writers, you'll know that it is really hard to get inspired, and certainly it takes a lot of effort sometimes, at least for me, to try to find a flow that you can actually write anything good. And so I'm constantly trying to teach myself how to write better, or teach myself, get in that flow state of how to write. And one of the best ways that I found to do that is that I have this writing area in the back of my house. It's like a hut, and I've filled this little hut with literally everything that you could possibly hope for to inspire me to write. And I fill it full of photos and books on paintings that I love, and all these different, my typewriter, a pipe where I smoke tobacco, and all that. And you know, for me, I just go in there and I don't even have to write sometimes. I'm just there. And but everything kind of helps me get in that flow, get in that mood. And I mean, I'm just like everyone. I get writer's block all the time, and you know, but I think for me, like you just got to keep writing. You just write and write and write, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't, for sure.
All right, so we're gonna keep doing questions, but let's also start signing a few of these books, so you guys are able to buy them. Again, the link is above and below us. It's premiercollectibles.com/Atticus. All right, so this next one is from Megan in, I'm going to mispronounce this, Puyallup, Washington. Puyallup?
Yeah,
Puyallup, Washington. All right.
I've been there.
Megan says, when will you tour in Seattle? You are amazing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Megan, that's very kind of you to say.
I would love to come to Seattle. I actually did this motorcycle tour last year, and I drove through Seattle on my on the motorcycle, and that was a lot of fun. And I actually grew up in that area, so I love Seattle, and I would love to come back. So
Seattle is on the list for a tour very soon. All right, thank you, Megan. Kayla from Fresno, California says, what advice would you give to a young aspiring poet?
Ooh, what advice would I give to a young aspiring poet? I would say the important thing for me I've found is like I said before, just to write. You know, if you're worried about writing, if you don't know how to start, just write and write and write and write. And there's this saying that says, write for the garbage bin. So just like write to throw it away, it doesn't matter. And what you'll find is that if you take off that pressure, you'll start writing with more ease. And another thing is, as I think it was Bukowski said, don't try. And it's that same idea of like, don't go out there and try to write the best thing you've ever, you know, that anyone's ever written. Because that pressure makes it hard to write, and it can get frustrating. But what I've found is just forget that and just write and just enjoy it. That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah. So, Kayla, keep writing.
And I'm gonna keep signing, guys.
And we are gonna keep signing. All right. This next one is from Kelly in Florence, Kentucky. Says, what inspired this book cover? That's a good question, Kelly.
I love Kentucky. I've been there. It's so hot in the summer. It's so humid.
It's so humid.
But I love it.
Good whiskey, though.
Actually, that's some of my favorite memories of driving across America. If you haven't done it, I would do it. In any car, at any time, drive across America. But anyways, your question about the cover. It's beautiful, isn't it? I found this photo, and I immediately wanted it to be part of my book. And it took forever, but I tracked down the photographer, and it was this young woman from Toronto, and I found it, and it's so perfectly matched with the idea of the dark between the stars. You know, that you can see the stars kind of shining through this young lady in the picture, and it just captured. It made me feel something. It evoked something, and I love that, and I just thought it fit the cover so well. Yeah, thank you for that question.
All right, this next one is from Maureen Hall from New York, New York. It says, what is it about Paris?
Oh, by the way, I'm going to New York on this speaking tour, so I'll be there in a few days, I believe.
Yeah, Sunday night and Monday night.
Yeah,
I know those days.
I love New York, and if you're in New York, I'd love to meet you and hug you and sign your book in person.
If you go to atticuspoetry.com/tour, you can get all the tour dates and information for the fall, as well as hopefully for some in the future.
These are all
hopefully
true.
Seattle in the future. We'll see.
And Kentucky, all these places.
And actually, Kentucky, for sure.
Guys, I want to add a bunch of stops on my tour, and more than anything, I want to go to small towns and go to small bookstores. And I'm going to be announcing this small town competition where people can basically take photos in their small bookstore and send them to me, and whoever has the most photos, I'm going to go to their small town. So please do that. I would love to do that. Go to your small town.
We'll be announcing the rules on Instagram soon.
Wait, so what was the question? What is it about Paris?
What is it about Paris? From Maureen in New York, New York.
Thank you for asking that. If you've read the book yet, or if you're going to, you'll find that there are a lot of poems about Paris, and I love Paris. I always have. I wrote my very first poem while I was walking in Paris, and I find it to be one of the most inspirational places in the world. I find that my writing comes very, very easy there, and everything I look at inspires me in some way. And so, because I wrote my first poem there, I feel like I owe Paris a lot. And when I decided I was going to write a second book, I moved there, and I spent almost a month there living in a tiny little attic and just getting up, drinking coffee, and walking Paris and being a poet and talking about everything that I saw or everything that I dreamed. And so a lot of that came into this book. Paris is the most beautiful muse you could ever hope for, or at least mine. I love it, yeah.
All right.
Easy to write about.
Maureen, thank you for that question. Hopefully you are watching and tuning in. We've got a question from Facebook here from Haley Lawson. Says, what is your favorite love story? That is a good question, Haley.
Ooh, good question. I mean, honestly, I know it's trite to say, but I thought the Notebook was
Titanic.
Titanic is another beautiful. They're beautiful love stories, and
they are beautiful love stories.
It's easy, but I feel like there's a reason that they were so popular, and that's because they keyed in on something very, very raw and true about what makes a love story, and that idea of finding love but also losing love. And both those stories, I think, you lost love in, but yeah.
I think at the end of the day, a lot of love stories have like universal themes. Is something.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also told in a different way, and I thought, both those are very true love stories.
I just watched the Titanic for the first time very recently, and I definitely teared up a little bit.
You know what else is a good one is English Patient. I don't know if you've seen that. It's very long.
If anyone's seen that, comment if it's good or bad.
That's a beautiful love story too.
I'll have to check it out.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you for that question.
Where
That's
was
a
she?
really good one. That was a question from Facebook, from Haley.
Oh, hi.
Haley, comment what your favorite love story is. We'd love to check it out.
Or everyone do it.
Everyone do it. All right, this next one is from Pauline in Pennsauken, New Jersey. She says, do a lot of your poems have to do with the same girl or many different ones?
Good
Pauline,
question.
Very interesting question.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I would say, so if you read my first book, Love Her Wild, it was dedicated to someone, and I owe her a lot of those words. There was one person, and a lot of those words came about, from our relationship, and unfortunately that relationship ended, and so you'll see in this book, it's more about different people and, different muses that have affected my life. For sure, but yeah. So to answer your question, it is a number of different people. Sometimes it's not a real person. It's just kind of someone I invent, or I imagine what it would be like to love this kind of person, or to lose this kind of person, and that kind of idea really gives me inspiration, for sure. That's a great question. Thank you. A lot of good questions here, guys.
A lot of good questions. All right, this next one is from Tiffany in Gridley, California. Tiffany, hopefully you're tuning in.
This pile's getting dangerously high.
Yeah, we should probably stack some over here at some point. Where do you find peace when the world demands too much?
Ooh, that is
I like that question.
Yeah, that's an important question, and I find peace in my connections, my family and my friends and my loved ones. That's almost entirely where I find peace. On top of that, I find in nature, I've always had this really strong connection to nature, ocean and forests and that as well. And then I would say just riding my motorcycle. I find peace on my motorcycle a lot. I meditate on motorcycles.
Oh, we've got some responses for people's favorite love story here. Meet Joe Black. You seen that?
Yes, that is a good one.
Is that a good one?
Yeah.
All right. Great suggestion. Guys, keep commenting your favorite love stories. We got to compile a list.
Meet Joe Black.
Yeah. I like that one. All right, let's see. We've got Ashley Eggleston.
How to lose a guy in 10 days.
How to lose a guy in 10 days is a good one. That's a good one. We have got Ashley Eggleston here from Spokane, Washington. It says, who are some of your favorite writers?
Who are some of my favorite writers? Most of my favorite writers are dead. I love Hunter S. Thompson. I love Bukowski. I love Robert Frost. F. Scott Fitzgerald is probably my favorite writer. He's someone who I can read and I go so often I'm just like, wow, how did you write that? How did you kind of make it just like, it almost flows like music to me. But I like Poe, I love Lord Byron, I love Walt Whitman. Sylvia Plath is an incredible female writer. Emily Dickinson, another. Of course, Hemingway. Yeah.
All right.
Who's your favorite writer?
Probably Hunter S. Thompson.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Big time. And Jack Kerouac.
Oh, Kerouac is another.
I'm finally getting to reading On the Road, which I know I'm like so
never
many
read
years
it?
behind. I just never read it. I never got to it. I think it was assigned in school, but I'm finally getting through it now. So
Allen Ginsberg.
definitely check that one out.
The whole
It's good.
beat. All those poets were.
Ashley, if you're listening, let us know what some of your favorite books are. Some of your favorite writers. Would love to get some new suggestions. So, thank you. All right, we've got Alyssa from Springfield, Massachusetts. She says, "What is your process when deciding what poems to include in a book?"
Good question. So. It's a long and tricky process, at least for me, to pick what poems are going to go in the book. And I usually decide upon a theme and a title first. And once I've done that, I start compiling a bit of a narrative around that. And I kind of push in poems that I think relate and take out poems that I feel like don't. And so, you know, that takes longer than, it takes me a long time at kind of choosing and letting, you know, as they say, killing your darlings. So getting rid of poems that are, that you really like, but that don't necessarily fit the theme or the larger narrative. But yeah, it's just about, you just kind of, like if you had a piece of wood, you just whittle away at it for me. It takes forever. Thank you.
All right, that's a great question. We've got another one from Facebook. No name on this one, but it says, "Is that sweatshirt for sale?" This sweatshirt.
This one.
That's a good question.
Yeah, this is
Currently,
a lot of people ask that, and
currently this is one of one.
This is one of a kind, and it says "the dark between the stars." But honestly, I wore this last night, and it was only ever supposed to be one of one, but so many people are asking about it. I think I might start printing them if you want them. Make a tour sweater or something like that. If you want them, message me and maybe we can do it. But it is one of a kind right now. Not for sale yet.
Let us know if you guys want to buy.
But thank you. Compliment.
All right, Lorian Smith. This is a question from Facebook. Says, "Why did you choose the name Atticus?"
Atticus. So there was an ancient Greek philosopher named Atticus, and he was a poet as well. And I drew the name and inspiration from him. And but I'm also a fan of Harper Lee and How to Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch. You know, I was a favorite story growing up. And so I drew some of the inspiration from that. I've always just loved the name Atticus. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right. Let's see. This is another one. Anonymous from Facebook says, how do you get inspired to write? What is your process?
Well, I kind of already touched on that one. But, you know, I think to add on to it, you know, I talked a bit about my like back house and writing area, and I believe that's really, really important. But I think reading other people's words, I know Hunter S. Thompson was famous for, if he couldn't kind of get into the flow of writing, he'd get out some of his favorite books written years before, and he'd just start typing out their whole book. And for him, that kind of got him in their mindset and that flow of writing. And from there, he'd just be able to write in his own cadence. That's an interesting idea, but I like to read other people's works. I like to listen to music, jazz, and spoken word sometimes, and all this stuff kind of inspires me.
All right.
Yeah.
This is from Melanie in Oldsmar, Florida. Asks, how did you feel once people started taking notice of your writings?
How did I feel? I started writing as just a creative outlet years ago. I never expected people to really follow, and it was really humbling and surprising when they did. And what I would say is that when I write these poems, I feel very connected to the poems. And so when people follow or message me and say they feel connected to the words, I feel very connected to them. And so through that, the whole process has been very, very humbling and wonderful, and it's been immense to connect with people through it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for that question.
All right, Samira Clementi, this is a question from Facebook, asks, what is your favorite poem from this book so far?
This poem? Or this book?
Yep, this second book. And also maybe we could read a couple as well.
I'll see if I can find it, but it's one about it. Good question. I don't know if I can find it just.
There's a lot of good ones in here, guys.
I'll have to, I can't remember where I put it in here. It's in here somewhere. But if you've read it, it's the one, it's a poem about an old man and an old woman, and the old man is dying, and he's with his wife, and basically he says, he's done everything he wants to do in his life, and now he's ready to go. And so he loves her, but let him for the long night's sleep. And there's that word, the long night's sleep. Yeah, that was my favorite one I read. But I can read a few, and I'd be happy to. All right. We lost ourselves, eyes shut in a kiss, our lips the thread that held us to the earth like a balloon, while we floated in the cosmic cotton of space, toes dipping in the pools of black, cooling our bodies until we awoke in the wet of wool, in the rain of real, the mists of morning, soaking in a park so cold but warm with you, and only the rain to remind us we were there at all. I'll read a couple. He laughed, "My darling, you will never be unloved by me. You are well too tangled in my soul." "I don't know the truth of you," she whispered, but I have that feeling in my stomach you get before your whole life changes. Our love happened to us all at once. We had no time to think. We were caught up in the adventure of it all and hadn't a moment to spare. I woke before her, and she slept on as the sun rose, spilling light across our bed. She was an angel in my sheets, the girl I would draw of given 1,000 years, and only a promise she might one day come to life. We can answer. I can read some more, but we can answer some more questions. I just want to make sure I get to all your questions.
Yeah, we do a couple more questions. This one is from Alexandria in Vandalia, Ohio. She asks,
Vandalia, Ohio.
have you been there?
No, have you been there?
I've never been there. Alexandria. We'd love to come check it out.
Where are you from?
Wisconsin.
Ooh.
Would you agree that being in love and loving someone are miraculously different? Whoa, that's a deep question.
Deep question.
I like
Being
that
in
one.
love and loving someone are miraculously different. I would say they can be different, but they can overlap, obviously, and they can be the same thing as well. I wouldn't say they're always necessarily miraculously different, but that's a beautiful thought in how they could be different. I like that idea. Yeah.
It's a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
Alexandria. Jordan from Spanaway, Washington asks, if our galaxies collided, would you meet me in the dark between our two stars?
Yes, I'd love to. We can meet in the dark between our stars.
Jordan is a poet and a scholar.
That's funny.
Ashley from Picayune, Mississippi says, hi Atticus, totally obsessed with your writing. Did you just start writing and promote yourself and then publish it yourself? I noticed that inside Love for Wild it says Atticus Publishing LLC. Did you just believe in yourself enough that major stores such as Barnes & Noble believed in your writing? I guess we can probably condense this to how did you get your start and getting people to take notice of your work and your writing? Yeah,
that's I believe an important question, because I don't know if any of you are writers out there, and but I get that question a lot of that idea of like, I'm a writer and I would love to get my words out there, and how did you get your words out there and what works? What I would suggest, and this is only from my experience, was I just started writing, and I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, and I posted and posted, and it slowly started to build, and once it got to a certain point, I was connected with a book agent who basically brought up the idea, have you ever thought about making a book? And I'd certainly thought about it, but I didn't think that I was ready or certainly worthy to write a book. But she thought that I should give it a go. And so together we worked on a book proposal, and we shopped that around to a number of different publishing companies. And I ended up landing with the publishing company that I went with, a company called Atria of Simon & Schuster, because out of all of them, they loved it. They got it, and they loved it, and they were fans. They followed me. My editor followed me long before we came to her, which I thought was really important. And you want to find somebody that really believes in you and cares ultimately, because you're in this thing with them for years and years and years, and so it's not a decision to be taken lightly. And so yeah, that's what I did, and I went with them, and we came out with Love for Wild and released that. And this book is with Atria and Simon & Schuster as well. And then once you're with a publishing company, and believe me, there's lots of different ways to do it, and self-publishing is a really powerful method these days, and a way to get your book out there. And yeah, so there's lots of different ways. This way made sense for me, and And I know a ton of really, really powerful success stories of people self-publishing. So yeah, it just kind of, you got to figure out what makes sense for you.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Very good question. Lauren Smith asks, this is a question from Facebook. Guys, if you have more Facebook, if you're tuned in on Facebook and have more questions, let us know. Lauren Smith from Facebook says, can you publish a book with all of your poems that didn't make the first 2 books? That's an interesting idea.
That's a good idea. I don't know why I've never thought of that. Yeah, people message me a lot. They said, some of my favorite poems didn't make the book. Can you do one that just has all of them? Yeah, I should. I'd love to at one point do a collection of all my poetry, like an extended collection. It's a good idea, and yes, I should. But yeah, that would be cool.
All right, Mallory from Sarasota, Florida says, thank you for changing my life, 2 exclamation points. I know it's not a question, but you put into words things I never could. Wow. Mallory, that is very kind.
That's very sweet. Thank you. What was her name?
Mallory.
Mallory, thank you.
Don Smith, also from Facebook, says, has your mask ever fallen off by accident? That's a good question.
Whoa. No, not really. Yeah, not really, no. I'm sure it will happen. On my double mask trick, I'm sure I'll just take off both of them one time. But for me, it's never been, the most important thing for me is not protecting my identity necessarily. For me, it's that, like I said at the beginning, it's a symbol to remind me to write what I feel and not what I think I should feel. And it's also a symbol of that idea of it should be about the words. You don't need to be recognized to be famous. It's not about being recognized. And it's not the most important thing in life. And I think actually, this woman articulated it better than I ever could. I gave a talk, and this older lady, she was 94, came up to me and she's like, in a world obsessed by fame, it's nice to see someone sending love from the shadows. And I was like, wow, that's the most beautiful thing ever. And immediately I was like, can I steal that as a poem? No, I'm just kidding. But that was a beautiful concept for me, sending love from the shadows. She articulated it well. I'd love to just continue sending love from the shadows. Thank you for that question.
All right, let's do one more question, and then we are going to move on to a rapid fire question game.
Okay.
Let's see what we've got here. Kylie Lloyd from Facebook says, do you think you will ever come to Australia? Wow.
I would love to come to Australia. I've never been to Australia, and I would love to go.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, I would love to go, if you'll help me.
Kylie, hopefully very soon in the future.
Yeah.
Atticus. Oh!
You guys, that whole pile just fell over.
Signing a lot of books here.
We're playing, what's the game that you stack the bricks?
Oh, Jenga.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Cool. So now we're going to move on to rapid fire question. It's 22 questions in 2 minutes. So
right.
This is going to be, this is going to be pretty fast. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. We got a timer?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm tired.
Okay, where were you born?
Pacific Northwest.
Who would you want to play you in a movie?
Tom Hardy, for sure.
What was your first job?
I was a dock boy at a local marina by my house.
What is your biggest fear?
Sharks. Probably sharks.
Same.
Yeah. High five.
Who makes you laugh the most?
My mother, but not on purpose. She just makes me laugh because she's completely ridiculous, but I love her.
What is one thing you need to have in your fridge at all times?
Almond milk. I love almond milk. And I put it in my coffee, so important.
What is the last concert you went to?
Kygo. Went to Kygo.
Yeah. Who is the most interesting person you met recently?
Oh, last night I did a signing here in LA, in Los Angeles, and I met hundreds of people, and it was great. I talked to so many interesting people. So I was lucky enough to meet a lot of interesting people very recently.
What is your best friend's middle name?
Ooh. Best friend's middle name. God, I'm trying to think of what best friend. Kirby. That's seriously.
Kirby. That's an incredible middle name.
You just made me choose my best friend.
On the spot. It's 22 rapid fire questions.
I know.
What is your biggest pet peeve besides guessing your best friend's middle name?
Oh, I have two. People who honk and spam callers. I can't stand spam callers. It drives me crazy.
What is the last book you read?
I read Wilderness by Jim Morrison from The Doors. He was not only the lead singer of The Doors, but he wrote a book of poetry right before he died in Paris, and it was called Wilderness, I believe. Yeah, that's what the book I'm reading.
Nice. What is your favorite hobby?
Riding my motorcycle, probably, if that is a hobby, or I also like sailing.
Good hobbies. What is your guilty pleasure?
Ooh, guilty pleasure? Good question. For one, I love Game of Thrones. I love that show. But I also like Riverdale.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's actually really good.
It's really good. Who's the guy that everyone is obsessed with? KJ?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
He's a winner.
Yeah.
All right, those are good guilty pleasures.
Very guilty pleasure.
Do you have any hidden talents?
Yes, I'm very fast at drinking a beer. I'm like exceptionally quick. I'm serious.
We'll have to prove that sometime.
Yeah. Bring one out, I'll do it.
What color is your toothbrush?
White. What colors are most people's? Oh, I've just got one of those electric
Mine's got
toothbrushes.
like blue.
Is it?
Oh, it's like the
Yeah.
the battery one?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your secret snack?
Popcorn.
That was a fast one.
Yeah.
How do you take your coffee?
Black with almond milk. So not black. Almond milk.
Almond milk. What's the last movie you saw in theaters?
This is pretty much my guilty pleasure too, but Avengers. I watched the Infinity War and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Oh, nice. Yeah. What is the last gift you gave?
I gave this book to a few people.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Get it out there. What cause is dear to your heart?
Mental health awareness in teens, in youth, young people.
Definitely.
Bringing attention to that. It's something that's affected me in my life, and I think it's one of the most important things to tackle, and I think it's plaguing our generation.
Definitely. And then the last one is, where do you want to go that you've never been?
I want to go to India and China. Both those places. Have you been there?
Not yet.
Let's
It's
go.
on the list.
Let's go. Who wants to go? Well, a couple of us will just go to India.
And we'll stop by China.
Go to China afterwards or before. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Wow, that's hard. It's harder than you think to answer just quick fire questions.
It is tough.
Yeah.
They come in fast.
Yeah.
They come in fast.
It makes you be kind of honest.
Oh, we've got another question here from Facebook. This is kind of an interesting one.
Yeah.
Ginger Lock Luna says, do you cook, and what are your favorite foods?
I'm actually so hungry right now, so you're making me think about food. Yeah, I really make really good pasta, and I love making pasta, as the Americans would say. I'm Canadian, so I always get in trouble for saying pasta, you know, house. Yeah, I think I love making, and I like cooking salmon. as well, and smoothies. I love smoothies.
Just
Good question.
Just smoothies.
What do you cook?
I make a lot of smoothies.
Yeah.
Pasta. I mean, that's what people say when they don't actually know how to cook stuff.
I know, right? Maybe I don't know.
I have to do a cooking class. All right, let's see what else we've got here. When did you decide to be anonymous, and how has it affected your writing and your personal life?
You want to know something funny? Here's a funny story about being anonymous. I chose to be anonymous, as I mentioned earlier, because I felt it was important in helping me write what I felt was true and real, and being honest with myself. But so I was anonymous for years, and I didn't tell anybody, not a soul. And I went home for Christmas one year, and my sister kept telling me about this person that she's following, Atticus. And she'd been following me for 2 years and had no idea. Isn't that funny? She knows now, obviously, but yeah, I thought it was very funny that for 2 years she had no idea. And
that is really funny.
Yeah.
That is really funny.
But how does it affect my life? It's just I try to keep my life and Atticus separate. So it's helped me do that. Absolutely.
Let's see. Zachary from Buda, Texas says, #ThisGirlDrinks is a super fan. She's a teacup of whiskey and would love a shout out.
Oh, wow.
#ThisGirlDrinks. Shout out.
Shout out to This Girl Drinks.
Also, guys, just wanted to do a really quick reminder that Atticus is signing all these books right now, and you can go to premiercollectibles.com/Atticus, or the links above or below us, I believe, to buy a special signed copy that you've been seeing him sign while we answer these questions.
Yeah.
So make sure to go check them out. Let's see what else we've got for questions.
Try not to build this tower too high so it doesn't fall over again. We could have been crushed to death.
I was a little bit crushed.
My foot got crushed to death. But we're okay now.
Okay, let's see. We've got Nicole from Brainerd, Minnesota says, what or who inspires you?
What or who inspires me? I believe I said it to some degree, but I said some of the poets and writers that inspire me. But nature very much inspires me. I've always been inspired by just walking in nature, or going on hikes, or swimming in the ocean. I feel like nature's God's free muse, and it's one of the easiest things to write about, and I believe it just enlightens your senses, and it's so human. And if you get out in nature, it can really really help you beat writer's block and whatever. Yeah,
definitely. A lot of benefits to getting outside.
I agree,
especially for writers.
Didn't you get a new tattoo that's like nature?
I did.
He did. He should show it.
Mom and Dad, I hope that you're not watching this.
I hope you are watching it. Show us. He's so shy.
All right, we've got another question here from Aman R. Bogal. Asks, when is book 3 coming out?
Oh, book 3. My head has been so in book 2, but I would love to write a third book. I feel like I have a lot more to say, and I would love book 3 to be completely different than anything that's been seen before, and I'm very excited about that prospect. But for the last little bit, my head's been so far in the dark between stars.
Definitely.
Sure.
All right, this is a good one. Liberty Marie Devenuto from Facebook asks, can you describe your first kiss? Whoa.
I don't.
It was just yesterday, right? So I feel like it's pretty fresh in your
recently.
memory.
Recently. Well, I was 20. No, I'm kidding. I do remember it, and it was actually kind of traumatizing, to be honest. I was at summer camp, and I was younger. I was the youngest there, and I remember on the last night, these older girls snuck into our cabin, and we played Spin the Bottle, and they
Classic.
taught us how to French kiss. And afterwards, I remember I cried because I thought I had gone too far, and I felt really guilty about it. Serious. And that probably explains a lot, but yeah, that was one, and if not my first kiss.
Liberty, that's a good question. No
I
one's
know,
ever
right?
asked that at
No
a
one
reading
has.
before. Hannah Lawson from Facebook says, what advice would you give to somebody that has a crush?
That is a good question.
That's tough.
That is tough.
I don't know if you ever really learn the right thing to do when you
No.
have a crush.
Still working on that one. But just act courageously.
Courageously,
And
don't
believe in
be afraid to
yourself.
put yourself out there.
Yeah, believe in yourself, and
And if it doesn't work out, it
it's
wasn't
not
meant
meant
to
to
be.
be.
It's not meant to be.
But
But Hannah, we
you
wish
miss
we wish you
100% of the
best.
shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. No, I really do believe that it's always better to go and ask them, talk to them, and engage than do nothing. I mean,
You'll regret it more if you don't do anything about it.
Absolutely.
In the long run, so.
a life of, you don't want to live that kind of life of regrets. It's so much better to just go and, I mean, you know what, going up to them and talking to them, it'll give you closure either way. It's like either it'll make sense or it won't, and if it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be, but at least you'll know and be able to move on rather than, like Spencer said, living in regret.
So Hannah, be brave.
Be brave, Hannah.
All right, Letty May says, how do you feel when people get your poems tattooed on their bodies? This is a good question to finish with, probably.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask about that.
Yeah, so thank you for the last question. So how do I feel when people get tattoos on their body?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's kind of like what I said before. You know, I'll say the first time I got, someone sent me a tattoo, I was completely shocked and humbled by it, and surprised that someone felt connected enough to put it on their body. And what I would say, and you know, since then it's been hundreds and hundreds, not thousands, and every time it's the same thing. I just feel very humbled and connected to these people, because like I said before, I feel very, very connected when I write these poems, and they mean something to me. And so when someone connects with the words enough that it means something enough to them to tattoo it on themselves, I feel immediately connected to that person. And you know, people have come up to me at tours, and I just hug them. I'm just like, I can't believe you felt connected enough to get that tattooed on you. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful meaning.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for that.
Guys, thank you so much for all of these awesome questions.
Thank you very much. I
It's been-
really appreciate it. Been very, very thought-provoking
Very
questions.
thought. Yeah, these are some of the most
Yeah.
interesting
Some
and
of us.
in-depth questions for sure. So you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. Once again, Atticus is signing all these books right now, and they'll be available on premiercollectibles.com/Atticus or at the links above or below us. So definitely go check it out. Grab a copy if you haven't yet. Let us know what you think of it.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you very much, and I hope I answered some of your questions, and I'd love to answer more. So if you want to DM me or connect in that way, I'd be happy to answer more questions. But lots of love. I really do appreciate all the support and kindness, and I love you guys.